Yeah, those are looking pretty good on the reviewing table. And yet, something's missing. The presentation is just, I don't know, lacking. Let's do this. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I feel so much better. 1,000% better with those stripper clips on the reviewing table in the Nutnfancy project. Hello everybody, TNPrs around the nation, around the world. Thanks for watching, subbing, being my friends, supporting me through all these years. It is time for the SKS review in TNP. I know, I hear what you're saying. Why so long? Nutnfancy, this is something you should have broken out in, I don't know, 2009, 2008. We'll get to that. We'll get to why it took me so long. And this is really a by request video from you guys. Whenever we can align our likes, what we are really into, I try to directly, and whenever I can, efficiently, time-wise, serve my audience. And this has been expedited because of the many requests I've been receiving over the last, I don't know, couple months. It just seems like the crescendo of, dude, SKS review, dude, SKS review. Tactical Doodles always telling me that you got to do an SKS review. All right, so there it is, straight up. I'm doing it. Testing complete in the Nutnfancy project. It's not a super long test period, which is actually the way I want to do all my reviews, no matter what the gear item is. No longer these long-term reviews, which I've talked about. And a couple caveats before we kick things off, and I'm going to answer that question why it took me so long in the philosophy of use discussion. Because there is some interesting POU stuff that I have strong opinions on at SKS. You may share those opinions. I think a lot of TNPers will. But a couple caveats is, one, I am not like Joe SKS, and that I've always had one in my systems, like a Mini 14, AR-15, for that matter, M1 Garand, and even some AK variant rifles. No, SKS to me has always been kind of a play around rifle. I never owned it, my friends did. And that's where a lot of my shooting and experience, which honestly wasn't that much over the years, came from. You know, a smattering here and there over the decades, so it is what it is. Also, I'm not going to try to represent everything in the SKS review. I just don't care. You know, if I miss this detail or that detail or fail to represent this manufacturer or that manufacturer, I'm sorry, I just don't care. It's a review that's going to be interesting to me, a product. I'm talking video product that's interesting and helpful if I was to roll in and wanted to know about the SKS system. Is it right for me? What's interesting about it? What's cool about it? How can I mod it? Is it worth it? And really nailing down what your expectations are of the weapon system. And I always talk about systems here in TNP. That's why guys have dialed in for years to these videos, is because it's all tied together, it's logical, it's systematic. Good use of the word. So there you go. That's the Nutnfancy approach to SKSs. Let's jump right into POU, because that's going to answer the question, why so long to take to review? Well, to me, it's because, and I'm straight up with you guys, I don't pull punches. The SKS is not a GTW weapon for me. It just isn't. There's so many better weapon systems that are higher firepower. We'll visit that issue again. That perhaps are more ergonomic, that are lighter weight. That's why. I have a lot better options. Maybe it's an SPR, AR variant rifle. Maybe it's an AK variant rifle. I would prefer to go to war with those guns, and I absolutely will. That being said, the SKS may be your cost-effective option to provide rounds down range to defend your home and family, to defend your freedom. But let's go back to that other philosophy of use, and that is a fun gun, a collectible gun. That's, to me, what the SKS is mostly about. And along with that, let's throw in project gun. Kind of like the Mosin Nagant, because the Mosin, go watch my review on that, I hit that pretty hard in the philosophy of use there. Is that it's a very awesome gun. It's very capable. It's $100, 30-06. The prices have gone up, I know. But the Mosin's like that. That it's a Russian very reliable gun, very fun to shoot, very inexpensive to acquire and to shoot. That's its positive attributes when you're talking about fun and recreational gun. The SKS is the same way in my way of thinking. It is very fun to shoot, although the cost of doing so with ammunition prices, ammunition availability of 7.6239 has gone up. That's just the way it is. Still great fun though. And that's the way I've always perceived it, as a fun rifle, dinking around rifle. That's just me. Also, along with that, I mentioned collectible. Some guys will have an SKS collection because there are a lot of variants from different manufacturers. And by way of introduction, yes, I tested 2 for this review recently. I mean, I've shot other brands and types, nationality of SKSs over the years. But this is a Norinco Chinese Type 56 SKS variant. Great gun. Love it. That's right. I do love it. It is excellent. I'm going to talk about it. And then in the background, in current TNP inventory, is a Yugoslavian PAP, or Papovka, I think is the nickname of it, M59 66. So this is I believe is a Stava produced SKS variant rifle. Yeah. And we'll look at the manufacturing quality on this one. So these are just 2 variants. I mean, there's more. You know, you can have Russian SKSs. You can have those very rare East German SKSs. I think there are some Romanian ones out there. Guys would go out and make a collection of that as a hobby. And just like any gun, like I just did the M1 carbine review, the M1 Garand, all those cool battle-proven weapons, it gives enjoyment to the owner as a collectible, nothing else. That's that. Oh, also, it's a great gun for beginning shooters because it is relatively soft shooting, especially for its weight. It's an intermediate power cartridge, the 7.6239. It's a non-intimidating gun to roll into. Let's get to the meat of the matter, and that is, I said GTW, you guys know what that means. Is it a good WROL choice? Define good. If you just want to put rounds on target and cost is a factor, or you're putting this gun up in storage and you don't want to spend a lot of money on that gun that's going to be stored or buried, then you might choose an SKS. For that, I'd say it's excellent. And if we go back to the Mosin Nagant review, right, what do we say about that gun? And I think most of us are in agreement that that gun is a great WRL gun because of its cost effectiveness. It's very hard hitting. And, you know, if you're a good marksman, how many rounds do you need? So the answer is, it depends on the situation, really. But I like as many as I can get. I always have said that. But 10 rounds that the SKS holds in its stock configuration just might be enough. Me, I want more. So it's not my first choice, but for a lot of dudes it is. And yes, they'll do a 922R conversion on it. And then it's going to have basically identical capabilities as an AK variant rifle. Right? So now we're in kind of going back to collectible project gun because they're going to modify it. They're going to put more money into it to get it up to AK variant standards. I would say be very careful about this because you might be better off and more cost effectively better off to just get an AK variant rifle. You know, if cost is an issue, get a cheapo, get a Wasser 10, a Romanian. Me, I still love the Arsenal SGL 31s and 21s.
Okay, you got a guy on the left.
Yeah, I know they've gone way up, but you should have bought one when I reviewed it like, I don't know, 5 years ago. They were awesomely cheap back then, relatively speaking. That to me is a superior weapon system, but you can get this system to those levels in a lot of people's minds, and I would agree with that. How about this? We're talking philosophy of use still. A legal longer carbine. In other words, it is a fixed 10-round magazine. In a lot of localities, they will take longer to ban this, and it is already legal in some states and localities where a detachable magazine is not. Hey, Canadians, don't you have like a 5-round limit on your SKSs? I think you have to block your mags. I think so. That's a valid philosophy of use because if you're like me, a law-abiding, good citizen, you don't want to break the law and you're trying to do your darndest to abide by it, even though it's pretty dicked up at times. Here comes another rant. Hold me back. Hold me back. I know, but if that is important to you, the SKS fills that niche. It's not an intimidating looking weapon either. It's actually a curio and relic in some localities. It's old. A lot of these were produced much longer than 50 years ago. Curio and relic, yeah, it has a folding bayonet. Whoop-de-doo. It doesn't look like a black rifle. It looks like an old-fashioned World War II rifle to the non-gun person. Right? Legal longer carbine. And then finally in philosophy of use, I'll say hunting. There are magazine conversions made by Tapco, which are 5-round magazine conversions. So you're going to do a 922R, project on it and go hunting with it. There are states where the 7.6239 is considered adequate for deer. And it is an intermediate cartridge. And I think for deer within 200 yards, it should be fine. I would prefer you took that shot within 100 yards. Myself. Thank you very much. Philosophy of use discussion complete. Oh, but getting back to what I said, why did I take so long? It's because I wanted to review more GTW weapons first. And I don't know. This has been in the project, this M59 66, for 3 years. So it's been on my list. This gun has a problem though, and you may be seeing it. Let me just tell you right now, it has a trigger problem. So we'll be firing it, and then the trigger just won't pull. And it has been to a gunsmith, and the gunsmith supposedly fixed it. He did not. It's still intermittent, and that is a bad thing. I'm not sure if the trigger bar is not disengaging the sear. That's what it seems like. We're going to pull it here when we check trigger pull, and it might happen here on the table. I'll let you look at it. It's not letting the hammer fall. It might be a safety notch problem. I don't know. I do know this. I will fix it. If not myself, I'll get someone to do it. But time-wise, I'd like someone else to do it. But I'll get in there myself and redo the entire trigger. But that's that. I mean, and that going back to getting these older, surplus guns, be careful because you just might pull something off the rack that has some issues. I mean, I remember I was in this store one time and this guy was complaining about this Romanian AK he bought. And this is like an old pawn shop in Utah. Dude comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm having a problem. He goes, does this thing have a warranty? He goes, no, it doesn't have a warranty. Not never, not ever. It's a Russian gun. You're stuck with what you got. And I just laughed, and I'm not doing it near as funny as the dude did. His point is true, though. This is not a factory-produced rifle. It's a surplus rifle. It's all you, dude. So if it's having a malfunction like this trigger right here, I've got to fix it. I ain't sending it to nobody. How about design, materials, and quality? Let me say this, is that between these two guns, and let me just say broader base between the Chinese-produced SKSs and the European-produced SKSs, and I'll just lump in Russian, the Zastava, Yugoslavian, Romanian, maybe East German. I like these ones better. And here's why. This sucker is so Boba Fett, it just turns me on. And that's a second kind of cool thing. Now, again, we are looking at the Yugoslavian Popovka M59 66 SKS, and that is not a flash hider, it's actually a grenade cup. A grenade launcher is the intention of this particular SKS version. Now it has a flip-up grenade sight on it, pretty cool. So you would actually rotate the gas cutoff knob here, rotate the sight up, fire a blank in it after seating your rifle grenade in the cup, and there you go. And then you have your ranges right here. Is that practical as a civilian owner? Absolutely not. But it's freaking cool. It's a conversation piece. And then when you come back, make sure you rotate on this particular version the gas knob again to the semi-auto position. I screwed that up. Let me do it this way. And that will restore semi-automatic gunfire. But look at I'm talking about the quality and the machining. The forged steel machining on this SKS, it's just superb. Notice the thickness of the barrel. Most of these SKSs are going to have thicker barrels than a lot of AK variant rifles, which has always been a pet peeve of mine. Almost RPK thickness is what these are, both the Chinese one and the Yugo one. The bayonet on this one is just styling. This is a second kind of cool thing for me. I just love it. There's two types of bayonets on SKSs. This is a spike one. This is a blade one on the M59. Sick! That is freaking cool, dude. I mean, if you want to get a rifle just for conversation piece, this is a great way to go. For bang for your buck, for the money you'll spend on this, you're going to be hard pressed to beat it. I love the blade bayonet, and that is, again, this style of SKS. The wood is beech on this one. We'll talk about, well, heck, I'll talk about it now. You're going to have to decosmoline these guns, especially the Yugoslavian one. Block out, dude, 4 hours. That's what it took me. Going back to the stock, I had degreased it with a heat gun, and me and Doodle did, and we thought we had it. No. I said, this has a lot of cosmoline in it. What I did is put it in the oven at 250 degrees for 3 hours. Here's some photos. Yeah, the wife dug it. It stunk up the whole house. But what that did is that cosmoline started to ooze out, and I could sop it up. And sop it up. And sop it up, because it kept coming. And I didn't even take the gun fully apart. I was just like, for time, I'm going to just kind of partially field strip it. In it went. I took the rubber butt pad off. I'll show you that. And freak, dude, it took forever. And then you're going to have to get in the internals. And the cosmoline is everywhere. It's in the piston. It's in the recoil spring. It's in the bolt carrier group. It's in the trigger group. The gun has to be completely disassembled and degreased, decosmolined, just like a Mosin. And we cursed the cosmoline, but remember this. It did its job, and it preserved these guns for our generation rust-free. So when we curse it, I should say we should be careful, because that was the technology they had back then, and thank heavens they did it. Had they not done it, I mean, they weren't doing it for us. They were doing it for arsenal storage or in case of wartime. I mean, I know that, but had they not done it, then these guns would be rusted and in really bad shape. So yeah, it's a pain in the butt. Minimum 4 hours, I'm going to say, to decosmoline your rifle. Once that's done, then the beech started shining through. That's a good looking stock. This on this Yugoslavian SKS is a milled trigger guard. In fact, everything on this gun is milled, not stamped as you'll see on the Chinese SKSs. The magazine release, milled. The bolt is rounded. There are some variants of bolts, I believe. Milled receiver. This is just a really high quality rifle. So if you like that stuff that I always talk about, which touches my soul so deeply, the walnut and steel, in this case beech and steel, then you might consider the Yugoslavian SKS. Design, materials, and quality is what we're talking about. Tops and quality. The trigger problem on this one notwithstanding, I don't think that's fair to say, oh, well, it has a trigger problem. I can find Chinese ones that do as well. This is a Chinese one. You're going to have a stamped trigger guard here, stamped pretty much everything. I think it's a milled receiver on that, and I'm not sure on the top cover. The wood, who knows? It may be beech as well. The spike bayonet. Notice on most SKSs, and this is a downside, not a threaded barrel. Pretty much plain barrel. Yes, you can, screw on some aftermarket stuff on the end if you really want to. I recommend not doing that. I love the looks again of that Yugoslavian grenade launcher. It's just cool looking. You have an integrated cleaning rod, which personally I never use, but it's part of the Russian philosophy. All the AKs have them too, so it's very traditional. I just leave it in. The sights on these are, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to accuracy, because when you talk about accuracy, you got to talk about sights. They're very AK-like. Almost identical. You can see the range increments on the Norinco Type 56 there. They work. I don't think they're awesome, though. Like all AK sights, have a very short sight radius, because you're going mid-receiver to the end. I'll talk about that modification here in a minute. They work. And then I already pulled the rear sight blade off that Yugo SKS. And I have it right here. And it was actually kind of cooler. Also, you're going to see top-notch quality in this. So, again, a milled rear sight. And then this particular M56 has these high visibility dots. So that's the plain rear sight blade. And then there's rear dots. I think in some versions are tritium. There's your range graduations there. Again, I'm thinking, dude, for SKS, to me, I know this is crazy, but 200 yards? What? I shoot 5-inch groups at 400 yards with mine all the time, Nutton. Dude, this cartridge is not that powerful. Yeah, I'm saying 200 yards. Step it up to a 308 battle rifle if you want that type. And even that 308's underpowered. There's that common thread I was talking about, by the way. I've talked about this stuff a lot. A lot. By the way, matte chromed blades, bayonets is what I'm trying to say. Blade, spike one, and in the barrels, chromed. Most excellent. I'm not super sure on the gas tubes. I didn't really look inside. I wish they were chromed, because if you shoot corrosive ammunition, dude, in your SKS, you got a cleanup job. We'll talk about field strip very briefly, but you're going to have to dig in there, clean it all out. Otherwise, your SKS is going to, at least this portion up here, I think, is going to rust away on you. Take care of your gun. It will take care of you. A lot of the stocks had cleaning kit holes. Actually, most of them do. I don't have a cleaning kit in this one. This one's on loan to TNP from a friend. But that's where the cleaning kit goes. And it's just a very simple stamped steel butt plate, which is slicker than crap. Yeah, crap's pretty slick, last time I checked. Side-mounted swivels on this Type 56. That's pretty standard. We'll talk about ergonomics here in a second. I love this Zastava one when we're talking about quality. Chrome line barrel, it's just excellent. I guess we'll jump into weight, balance, and feel. They're not super light, and consider this, is that basically when the SKS came into service, I would say around 1945, because I think the Russians even fielded some SKSs against the Germans in late 45, the initial SKSs, if my research is correct. Probably isn't. It's happened before. Whatever. But the gun's been around a long time, and it really was obsolete when the AK variant, or the AK-47 came out, and yet it soldiered on. In a lot of ways, this is the Russian M1 Garand. It's just a rifle that just won't go away. It's relegated pretty much to ceremonial use. A lot of the guards carry SKSs. They just love them. Now, I don't know about the Russian military, if it's still in some dark reaches soldiering on. I don't think so. I think it's all AK-74 and the like, and subsequent AK variant rifles. But a lot of nations are using SKS, and it was produced in such high numbers. The Chinese SKS alone, 8 million made. They're going to be showing up in every type of conflict as they have been for the last 50 years in our lifetimes. They are never going away. They're always going to be there. Why? Because they're durable and they work. And they're simple. Very simple. They don't require external magazines, which is a huge plus. So if you're sending guns to a partisan, I mean, how much simpler is it just send them an SKS? And I'm talking either, whatever conflict you want to choose. Vietnamese conflict. You don't have to send magazines. The gun's complete. It has a freaking cleaning rod built into it. What else do they need? Ammunition. That's it, though. But it was obsolete, and it still is obsolete, like some of the guns I've brought to the table. We still love them. They're still effective in that GTW capacity, in its stock form, with the caveats we've mentioned and we'll hit upon again. But they're not super lightweight. This one weighs 8 pounds, 1 ounce, as you see configured, no sling, with a spike bayonet, obviously. The M59 in the background, as you see configured. 9 pounds, 10 ounces, and that's with this most awesome, highly recommended, I'll say it now, Packmeyer decelerator butt pad. And no, that's not for recoil, in case you're wondering. It's for length of pull. And it is so simple to do. That's what I was going to show you. There's the standard rubber butt pad on the Yugo SKS. But these dudes, the length of pull on these is like, what, 12.5 inches? Which is very standard European, right? It's meant for a smaller statured dude, maybe, I don't know, 5 foot, 5.5 feet. So taller American, I'm 6'3". This gun's very short for me. It doesn't fit me that good. That's a great way to cure it. But with that pad, 9 pounds, 10 ounces, that's heavy. Very heavy. Can you imagine why the Yugo is heavier? Yeah, blade, bayonet, freaking grenade launching hardware that you will never use. Huge steel cup at the end of the barrel. Everything is milled. That adds weight. Yeah, it's heavy. Again, it's not like cutting edge weapon technology. It's just cool. AKs are lighter. And generally speaking, if I'm going to go with a Russian made gun, I'm going AK, dude. For pretty much all my philosophies of use. Except maybe collectability and just fun gun. I love SKSs for that. Yeah. Ergonomics. Talked about length of pull. Yeah, it's not great. It's short. You may live with it, or you may decide to do what I did here, which is cost effective, fast, cheap, and you can restore the stock configuration whenever you want, if and when you sell it. And we'll probably sell this one. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will. Easy to do, though. Or you can put on aftermarket stock. We'll talk about that. The manipulation is very straightforward. You have a reciprocating top bolt, piston design, very reliable, very time-proven. Of course, I put it on par with what I know about it with an AK variant rifle. Totally. Here's just a fixed bolt knob here. Easy to use an off-side hand. We use both in shooting. Offside, primary side,
Not
whatever.
Spectacular.
Easy to use. The magazine to load it is, as you can see, via stripper clip, which we used. And that was a mixed bag, to be honest with you. I'll just cover that here. One, these are, what are they? The freaking Chinese-made stripper clips, which seem to be available, unlike higher quality ones. NC Star is a brand, and they kind of suck. For one, they won't retain the cartridges very well. Let me see if I can get that to pop. Yeah, there you go. I did it first try. So we're out in the desert, we're dropping, they're just flopping around the pocket, and these are shedding rounds. And yes, I tried to bend the springs to make them retain better. They just suck. I mean, there's a reason why the weapon system's obsolete. A detachable 30-round magazine is just superior. It's easier to transport, you're not fumbling around, it's more time efficient, it's quicker. Yes, you can stripper clip pretty quick, and just like anything, if you practice with just one weapon system and practice, you're going to get good. Unless you're just an idiot. You know, if you have medium skills, medium dexterity, you'll get good at it. And even as we shot, we started getting good at the stripper clip. Tactical Doodle had some problems with it. I think some of these were defective too. I mean, we're really pushing, they're not stripping in. It's not good. So this is ergonomically, you're going to feed it from the top, and I'm talking if you keep your SKS in stock configuration again. Keep that in mind. And my point in saying this is you rarely have to pop this. Unless you have just something jacked up, which happened to us. We're like, what's going on in there? Let's just dump the rounds and reload it. It happens. I do love the mag catch here on the bottom though. It's very positive, simple, and this is a steel magazine box. You can schwack it, beat it, and it's not going to bend, and malfunction on you. How about the triggers? Let's pull it. This is the Chinese one again. Electronics trigger scale. Nutnfancy project. Man, I love having this thing. It's so cool. I pulled them earlier and they're like 7 pounds. Okay, so let's see if that's what it's going to pull now. Well, that one pulled at 5. Look at that. Wow, I'm just doing it once. Just for time. I bet this is going to be another feature length. But man, fun video. Fun. Here we go. Let's check this, dudes. Oh, safety off would help. There you go, 7 pounds 5 on the Yugo, and it actually went bang that time. As I was saying, that gun has some issues. We talked about the sights ergonomically. I would give them about likability scale 5 out of 10. Not awesome. I highly recommend you do the following to your SKS if you're going to run the stock sights on it. Is number 1, put a thinner front post on it, as you see on the Yugo M59. And I forget where I get these from, like Brownells, I think. That's a thinner AK post. That's the best angle I can show you with where I'm at. And I paint it fluorescent orange because the primary target for this gun is steel. So black on black, steel on steel is not really high contrast. And then if you're going to run your rear sight, blacken that out too. Which we found in accuracy testing, you're just going to have sun glinting off. Always blacken your fixed sights. And the way I do it is with Krylon flat black spray paint whenever I can. However, if you can't get that, degrease it with an alcohol pad or something, and you can use this. Thank me later. Just like the GIs, they're using Zippo lighters to blacken their sights. There's a reason for that. So they're not getting that sun glinting. And don't kid yourself, just because it's blue doesn't mean you're not going to get a reflection off it. So triggers, I wouldn't do anything with. You can do a trigger job on the SKS, and that would be great if you want to do that. I don't mind a 7-pound trigger on this rifle, which may surprise you, because yes, I am kind of a trigger snob usually, but not with this gun. It pulls fine. I do want to get this one reliable. Firepower. We said it already, dude. You're looking at it. It's 10 rounds, stock configuration. If you want to change it, change it. No, 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 no. Easy enough to do. That's a Tapco, I think 20 round magazine in black. Tapco makes some great accessories. They're cost effective. We've visited with them many times before. Good folks. Here's another one in flat desert earth. And these are cost effective. They're not expensive at all. And you just remove this, pop this sucker in, and yes, there are legalities involved depending on where you are. There's some states where you cannot put a detachable magazine on SKS, and when you do so, now you're in 922R land, which I think most of you know what that is. It's that ridiculous law that you have to have a certain number of compliance parts of U.S. manufacturer, like gas tubes, stock parts, gas piston, whatever, to be legal once you change its stock configuration, because it was not allowed to be imported with this. Nutnfancy, what do you recommend? Well, here's what I recommend. Go back to your philosophy of use discussion, our discussion we just had, and what do you want out of the rifle? Do you want second kind of cool or first kind of cool? That's what it boils down to. Do you want collectability and just recreational, like I do? Then I say don't change it. Just leave it as a stripper clip fed gun. It is fun doing it. Stripper clip, stripper feeding the gun. It's more challenging. It's fun. If you want a more GTW purpose to it, then by all means do a magazine conversion. If you want 922R conversion, that's your business as a free individual. Digging it. Says me. But an AK has 3 times as many rounds as this, 30 round, plus drum magazine capability if you want to do that. Firepower and the loading procedure in its stock form is the biggest disadvantage of the SKS. It just is. How about reliability and durability? Well, I've read and heard about slam fire problems in the SKS. Once upon a time, there were fixed firing pin versions. Both of these, I believe, have floating firing pins, and we didn't see any of those at all. I think it's probably overblown, just like the slam fire problem in the M1 Garand or M14 M1A series of rifles. I've never seen that as well. I don't even worry about that. But as far as reliability and cycling, how did it do in our testing? I would say pretty darn good. There were a couple stoppages. Yeah, we had a couple blown primers. You know, we're shooting Wolf, I think 122 grain FMJ, the stuff you see on the table. And yeah, a couple stoppages, and we're digging out. I see this primer floating around. I'm like, well, is it the ammunition's fault, the gun's fault? Whatever. I mean, you're going to have stoppages, especially in an old surplus rifle like this. I wouldn't expect it to be
primer in there.
I don't know, 100% with that style of ammunition, which is its factory fodder, says me. Russian ammo, Russian gun. Well, Yugo gun. You get the picture. Reliability, I think, again, is about on par with most AK variant rifles, which is to say it's superb. Really good. If, remember this, you take care of it and you do what I recommended. You decosmoline your gun and then strip out all that ancient lubrication and preservative and put in modern lubricants.
Chinese SKS.
Me, on these guns, on the Yugo gun, I didn't strip this one out. Militech is what I use. So you're going to put that on the recoil spring. You're going to put it on anywhere you see shiny metal. On the bolt, which is a tilting bolt design, by the way. You know, put a liberal amount of Militech there and strip out all that cosmoline. The way I did it was brake cleaner, toothbrush, and I just blasted everything. I took the recoil spring apart, took the entire gun apart. I blasted the trigger assembly, scrubbed it with a toothbrush. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. Got in the gas tube, scrub, got it all out, dried it, brake cleaner, and then in comes the modern lubricants, in this case, Militech, Slip 2000, whatever you want to do. There's so many good ones out there. And then with that, I think you're going to be extremely happy. Watch your recoil spring. If you find a heavily used and shot SKS, you might want to replace it. There are tune-up kits from Wolf for this exact purpose. This Yugo, by the way, I bet you when we acquired it, did not have more than 100 rounds through it. I know, it looks worn, doesn't it? But I think it was carried either by a border patrol, a ceremonial unit, and never fired. Except maybe once in a while in training, because the interior on this gun is like brand new. And again, by looking at the bolt carrier, you can just see the superb quality on this particular Yugoslavian SKS. And I'm not saying that Chinese are any worse. I'm just saying I have experience with this. The Chinese are excellent too. It's just more of a second kind of cool thing. Functionally, one gun is not better than the other. So don't think, oh, well, the Yugos are a lot better than the Chinese SKSs. They're not. In fact, in shooting, I like this trigger better than that trigger. And it was a lighter gun, this one, because it didn't have all the freaking grenade launching crap on it. Yeah, so that's what I'd say. Firepower, decide what you want. First kind of cool, second kind of cool. Reliability, excellent, I think. Let's go on to accuracy. Fun review, fun review. China SKS, come on down. By the way, when we shot, dudes, it was freaking windy. Gusting to 25 miles an hour. It was hard as heck trying to get good groups off this, and we did it off a tripod. SKS. This is with a very thick front sight blade, which is pretty much sucky. Hate that. 50 yards. This is windy desert. When you see WD, it means windy desert tripod. This was yesterday. Told you I'd expedite this for you. That's me shooting. Headshot there, body shots there. About what you'd expect at 50 yards with an SKS, especially under those conditions. I will venture to say under those conditions, it's really good shooting. China SKS, same conditions, same shooter. I told Tactical Dude, I was like, dude, you shoot. He's like, no, I can't do it. I'm like, go ahead and try. He tried. He sucked. Dad's got to step it on up. Headshot that guy. Nice. I would not feel confident with this China front sight blade shooting at any longer distance. Maybe it's just my eyes. I can't really show you any better. It's just a thick, short, stout, fat front sight blade. You got to replace it, says me. I want to show you, you've been seeing all along, what my favorite sight modification would be for these guns. And then here's body shot. China SKS is Type 56. Decent. It was difficult, by the way, when I was shooting the Yugoslavian, because I'd painted the front sight orange, and now all I had with me target-wise were the orange mini silhouettes. So we're like stapling black circles up so I could freaking try to fry in the front sight blade. Here comes Yugoslavian M59, 50 yards, windy desert, tripod. You might be wondering why we shot off a tripod. It's because we had another gun we were shooting from 100 yards. We didn't want to transfer everything up. It's just so much work. So I just said, screw it. We're shooting off a tripod. That's pretty good. And I can't remember if this went to that group. I think there's a 4-shot group here. It might have been to this group. I don't remember. There might be a 3rd shot there that just went wild. And yeah, there you go. It is. This is 3 rounds though. Wolf, 122 grain FMJ. That's good. Headshot here. Same windy desert tripod. These are all the same day. Very happy with that group. That was excellent. And you can see the staple holes here. So I actually had a black circle here so I could see some contrast when I'm shooting. I'm like, I can see it. So that, out of an SKS at 50 yards is good. Now some guys, I heard some dudes say, yeah man, I'll shoot a 4-inch grip at 200 yards. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good with an SKS. You could probably do it, but man, I just don't know if I could. I just don't feel that competent, accurate accuracy-wise with an SKS. Not iron sight. You put a scope on there, it'd be a lot easier. 50 yards, last target. Excellent, I would say, good group. I'll call it, just ballparking what I know, if you just use iron sights on your SKS, a 3 to 4 MOA rifle. What? Yeah, I say 3 to 4 inch groups at 100 yards is what I'm talking. From what I'm seeing. I mean, I just showed you at 50 yards. If you double those size, you're going to look at about 3 to 4 inches. I don't think it's superbly accurate. Remember, you got a bayonet hanging off there. It's not a free-floated barrel. It is what it is. Now, for sure, you can get better accuracy out of them, right? I know you can. And you can shoot better loads. I'm sorry, I only shot 1 load. But I think AK variant rifles, which I've shot, will shoot better than SKS's. I don't know. About on par. I've seen a lot of AKs shoot 4-inch groups at 100 yards as well. But you take your time, like the Arsenal SGL series, I shot a 1-inch group with freaking tech sights, iron sights, on camera. Go look that video up. So accuracy, I will say, is acceptable. Not outstanding. Perhaps not even excellent. I will say it's acceptable. Take your time. You might bring those consistently down to 2 MOA at 100 yards. That's my final answer. I'm sticking with it. Field strip. I'm not going to go too much in this because there's so many resources that you can look at. There's some great books on field strip. There's great online resources. But there are a couple things I want you to watch out for when you field strip your SKS. Now, the procedure, of course, and I'm going to do it here for time and for messiness. So you rotate that lever out, pull out the takedown lever, take off your top cover, take out your bolt carrier group, your recoil spring here. Okay, and that's usually all you'll have to do. But if you want to get inside your gas tube, then you're going to rotate this up, your sight block lever, to the vertical position, and you're going to wiggle your top cover off, your gas tube. And then from here you can take out your piston, which is located in the gas block here. You can clean and scrub that, and you'll find some cosmoline in there if you're first doing it for the first time. You'll see photos while I'm talking when I degrease this sucker, the Yugoslavian one. And then you can take out your piston, which is located in this top portion. Clean that. It is chrome plated. That portion is. Clean it up, lubricate it, not the piston, but the tube itself. I usually clean up. And then pay particular attention up here at the gas block. Keep that hole clean. I just sprayed a bunch of brake cleaner down there. If you're really motivated, you can put like a pipe cleaner in there. There's special tools, I think, that will clean that as well. But that's mostly the field strip. The things you should watch out for is when you put your piston back in, which is again located here, it is spring loaded. What you want to do is push that piston all the way in, then rotate this lever counterclockwise to lock it into position. If you don't do that, putting this top piece back in is going to be a bear. It ain't going to happen. And then that will retain the piston and its spring. Then you'll dovetail your top cover in the front portion, rotate it down, snap it, and then rotate this lever all the way till it seats and clicks on the rear sight block. That's the first thing you need to watch out. If you access your trigger, dude, and I did on this Yugoslavian, watch out because, man, that's a bear to get off. That is a retention button right here, and you have to depress that very firmly to rotate this trigger housing out of position. Totally doable. I took a big, long tool. It's kind of like a pry tool, and I pushed it hard, and it was easy with that. And then once that you've depressed it, you can rotate out, clean it, service it. You can take your magazine box out, clean your follower, all that stuff. So watch out for that. And then putting it back in is really tough. I had a tactical doodle hold it down like really tight. He was actually pressing down with both hands, and then I used like that push bar again right here at this junction and pressed this milled, that's the nice thing about it, it's so strong, that milled trigger group down until it snapped into position. Lastly, something you need to watch out about is if you remove this rear sight, which I'll tell you why I did that, that's tricky. Because on the Chinese here, that's retained by a very strong leaf spring, and so you have to depress it. This is a solution I came up with. And no, I don't think it's anything new. I think it's widely known. So you're going to take your top cover off, put your crescent, not your crescent, but your channel locks in there with a bolt and depress that spring, and then once it disengages from that milled slot in the sight base, you can extract your rear sight spring. Whew, yeah. Wow, that's field strip. Hope you liked it. How about accessories for the SKS? Well, I told you why. I was going to tell you why I removed the rear sight on the M59. And that is so I could install the most outstanding, although I haven't shot them on this gun yet, tech sights. Oh, these are awesome. Now, you may say, well, man, that changes the look. Yeah, but it doesn't do anything to the gun permanently. It's very easy to restore it to its factory condition. You didn't have to drill or tap anything to mount the tech sights. And this is model T100, which I recommend. It's a dual aperture GI style sight, and it adds 10 inches of sight radius to your gun. Oh man, does that help. And it really installs firmly right here. And I didn't put the retention cap. There's another screw you can put in here, so it absolutely does not back out. I didn't do that. But you're just going to take out your takedown lever, which was a little bit tough because it's right here. I had to Dremel out a pin to remove it. Whoop-de-doo. And then you have 4 retention screws here, and then tech sight says it returns to 0. I think that is the sighting system to do. I did have to remove that rear sight because it was obstructive to the sight plane. That's why you have to remove it. If you get tired of it, remove it, eBay it, get rid of it, put the rear one back on. All the testing I've done for this review was with a standard sight, which I showed you. With a front taller one, I should say. Not taller one, but skinnier AK-47 sight that I painted. Tech sights, highly recommended. There are scope mounts for it. I found one by SK Industries. We have one on a Mosin Nagant, which has worked great. It's not overly expensive. It's around $60. It's a side mount SKS sight. I say just go irons with an SK or SKS. That's just me. If I'm going to scope it, I'd rather put the time and expense into an AK variant rifle, which has a lot better mounting options to it. I got a cruise. So there's other scope mounts you can do. If you really want to do that, go for it. Generally, I think if a guy's going to spring for a scope mount for an SKS, he's going to do a full-on conversion, which will take us to stocks. You can run this short length of pull, either Chinese or European stock for your SKS. That's what I'm doing. I'm not replacing it. Or you can go to Tapco and put it on one of their outstanding T6 stocks, which, by the way, counts for 3 922R parts. And that has an integrated rail system in it if you want to put lights, tripod, other crap you probably don't need on your SKS. You can do it. I love the T6 stock, though. I run them on AKs because it's just such an ergonomic option. It has a saw grip, saw vertical pistol grip. They're relatively rugged. You're going to have to reinforce that back piece. They are retractable. It shortens them a little bit. It's good stock. Also, ATI makes them for the SKS. I don't care for those. I just don't. I just don't dig them. Choke fixed is a great option. Those run about $55. And they're going to be black synthetic polymer, and they're going to change the entire look of the rifle, but they're ergonomic. They're built for American shooters. I haven't shot one, but I have shot a lot of choke products over the last 30 or so years, and I've always liked them. They're excellent. Tapco makes, I believe, some very fancy thumbhole timber smith laminated wood stocks for the SK series, and actually SKS and AK variant rifles. We visited with Tapco. We saw those in person. They're cool. If you don't like the tech sight option, Williams makes some fire sights for around $30, but I doubt the durability because I've had several Williams fire sights fail on me. Those light pipes have come flying out of the gun. Imagine that. So they're great sight picture, not so great in durability. Although they do have good customer service, they replace them pretty good. And then I just recommend the freaking tech sights. Stripper clips, absolutely. There might be some higher quality ones out there. We just got the ones that are cost effective. I think I just freaking ordered them off Amazon. They're like $8 for a whole box. They work for recreational shooting. Go to war, I don't like these. They're shedding rounds. And once you put a lot of them together, carry them like this. That freaking awesome Black Hawk Go bag I reviewed. I have a separate video out on that. So now you're in business, dude. If you're going to stick with standard configuration stripper clips, you could load a whole bag. Right now, this is full of Mosin ammo. Bolt-on muzzle brakes. Aim Sports makes some. Yeah, you can, but man, it's just going to add weight to the muzzle. Why do you really need them? The thing doesn't recoil that much. It has a real soft shooting dynamic. I would say no. Just add its weight and complexity to what you don't need. Yeah, I talked about the lack of a threaded muzzle. I do wish it had it, but the reason I say that is because now I don't have to put a big, ungainly bolt-on muzzle device. A thread-on one is much lighter, much more effective, kind of like a battle comp or something like that. I really wish the SKS would have it, but I digress. Track record. It's an SKS, bro. What conflict has it not been in? Killing people, both good guys and bad guys, very effectively. Vietnam, Korea, the Iraq War, Afghanistan, any war you can think of, the SKS is there doing damage, and it will be for many decades to come. Track record is amazing because it's still sticking around. And now, once upon a time, we'll just transition into value because I got to wrap it up. Once upon a time, these guns were really cheap. I mean, you could get this gun, the Yugoslavian M59, for like $200. We weren't so lucky. We paid like $300 for this one. Now, I just jumped into Gunbroker tonight looking at guns like this, and they're running around $500, the Yugoslavian SKSs. Yes, the prices have gone up. A Russian one of medium condition, around $600, and everything's subject to change. The Russian, for the record, are one of my favorites, because they're going to have this level of quality, whether you're talking an Ishvesh or a Tula-produced Russian SKS. I really love them, and we saw that one years ago in TNP. Oh, gorgeous guns. They're going to be lighter than this. Probably my favorites, but those are $6-ish. And then a Chinese Norinco Type 56, around currently $400. But that's a lot less than a lot of other weapon options. I would consider long and hard if if you want an AK variant rifle. A Wasser 10 Romanian, around the same price point. Detachable magazines already set up to be higher firepower. It's a more modern technology. You're going to have to decide that. I think it really boils down to first or second kind of cool. SKS rifle. Nutnfancy project, I'm done. Time's up. I love the rifle. Be realistic in your expectations, like I've said in some other reviews, and I think you'll love it. It does have some quirks to it. The ergonomics, the short length of pull, the loading process, but that's about it. It's plenty accurate for most shooters. It's very reliable. It still can defend home and family effectively, just like it has for years, and it's very cost effective. Still, go buy 3. See ya.